They're analysts. They don't know preferred stock from livestock, all right?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Price Check. My name is Octavian, and I'm going to be your price checker tonight. And probably every other night that you watch this series, which airs every other day. So if you've been enjoying it so far, yes, there's more to come. There's a lot more to come. Anyways, for those of you who are new to the series, Price Check is a series in which I grab a whole entire stash tab worth of loot, as you can see right here, all of it a beautiful crimson red, because it's unidentified. ID it by flicking some wisdom scrolls at it, and then we see whether or not any of it has any value, and I go over my reasoning behind the value of different items that hopefully have said value, though it is perfectly possible for a whole stash tab to be worthless. But it hasn't happened yet, and it would make for a boring episode, so I do have some items reserved to check on stream. I've been streaming so much lately. In the episode for you people, even if we find a bunch of duds here in the tab that I've prepared. So there's always something interesting at the end of the episode, and you can, of course, skip to the end if you'd like, but let's go sell Navali a bunch of trash in the meanwhile. And that is going to be a regular thing moving forwards, by the way. I'm going to have at least one item, often more than one, that I'll be saving to price check in these episodes at the end of each one. So just so that there's always something worthwhile. Low cold damage to spells. This one does nothing going on. Or this dagger even has nothing going on. And neither does this wand. So I was simply being prescient. Not very good. You're not looking for block chance on jewels. That's pretty much always bad. And resists are only good if the rest of the jewel is already good. Damage, fizz damage to 200 melee weapons, attack speed with staves, and attack speed. This is a actually kind of nice jewel. I hesitate to call it really good, but it is 4 properties that can synergize together, so we can definitely sell this. I'm going to be doing a more in-depth price check on this one. I am intrigued by this jewel. Crit strike chance, but very low. The rest is garbage. Nothing to speak of. Attack speed is fine, but the rest is not. Dex is a pretty good roll. Nothing else there. 124 life, surrounded by a sea of garbage. That poor soul salvation Sinner Tricorn just could not find any salvation. Ooh, the right rolls, but a little too low on everything but that lightning res. Yeah, nothing to speak of. Nothing there, really. I mean, a very high int roll and a good fire res roll, but it's bricked up with other stuff. Mana is less bricky than it used to be. I've said this a few times since 3.0 started, but Harbinger League is the League of Mind Over Matter. A lot of people are playing it. It's gotten some very beneficial changes with 3.0, and so mana is more valuable, but not valuable enough to save this ring. 107 life, all res, that would be nice, but this isn't the implicit that you're looking for. Block recovery is good, but not a stat people really search for. And the all res is low, the life regen is bricky. Overall, just not a very good shield. 48 life, increased flash charges gained. 43 cold res. Sure, I'll vol this. This is just on the edge of volability viability. Because if this does hit +1 endurance charges, since we're still early days in the league, people looking for a belt with +1 endurance might settle for this. So we'll vol that and see what happens. That's a really high wed roll, isn't it? Damn it! That ring, oh man. Yeah, I kind of glanced it over and didn't think it was very good, but this ring could be really good if it had a life roll. This is a tragedy of a ring right here. If that had a good life roll, that could be worth something. Sadly, crafting life on a jewelry is really ineffective. You get very low values for your money, and it costs 4C to craft a not even decent life roll onto a piece of jewelry. So no way of salvaging that, which is disappointing. We can augment this. If we hit life, then we might have something valuable. It's a 1C belt right there. That's life, resists, flask mod, and a strength implicit, so we could sell that for a chaos. 88 life, 34 cold res. We could try to sell that for a chaos. It probably won't sell, but it does have an open suffix, I think. Yeah, it definitely does have an open suffix, so that can add another resist to that. Could be pretty good. Somebody might want that. We'll sell it for a chaos. 11 life is very low. No life is also very low, though percent ES can be okay if it's really high, but that was not very high. 52 life, 2 good resistances, good base, so we can also try to sell this for like maybe 2, maybe 3 chaos. So we got a few decent ones in our first little batch here. Let's go store the Kernet Zaz, there we go. And we're going to vol this belt. It bricked, which is unfortunate. Did it break into something decent? No. I saw flask charges gained, and I did a short double take at it, but it wasn't very good. We aug this. We got armor, and I'm not even going to bother selling that to Navali. This we put up for 1C. Honestly, it's almost good enough to put up for 2, if that life roll were higher, or the resists were higher, but as it is, it's just a nice little belt with some flask charges. This goes up for 1. This we are going to check. So we'll put this in the to be checked tab, along with the other things that I was going to check at the end of the episode. And 52 life and some resists. Where was I going to put you? I think I initially said 2 or 3. We're going to start this at 3. Because it is a good base. It's got really good resists. It's got okay life. It's just very bricked with flat armor and ES. It's very, very bricked. We'll start it at 3. It might take a little while to sell, but we'll lower it over time. Alright. The rest of the tab here. A lot of these items are ones that I don't usually pick up, but I did get a request to go over items that, you know, other people might pick up more often than I do, just so I can give a wider range of advice. So I'm more than happy to do that. 20 movement speed caught my attention, but nothing else is useful. No life. Bad life. No life. Attack speed is fine on that, but that's 1 to 3 cold damage, and that kills it, as does the fact that it's low fire damage as well. 20% increased attack speed and a good lightning damage roll, as well as accuracy. There's some potential here, but I still think it's not quite good enough. Siege axes are very demanding. If you want an LE one, you generally want more than one good elemental damage roll to be able to push it into viability. Spell damage, fire damage to spells. And this is the right base for that. This is a Sambar Scepter. You want that pen. Spell damage roll is really low, though, and there's no cast speed. No life roll. No crit multi. Nothing that you're really looking for on a quiver. No movement speed. And 5 life. No movement speed and no life. No movement speed and no life. And good life. Goodish life. Not very good. And goodish resists, so not good enough. And this is kind of demonstrating why I don't pick up these items very often, because a lot of these items are very demanding in terms of what they need to roll to be worth something, and they're also quite large. So they're demanding in inventory space and also in mods. Oh, wrong tab. And let's finish things out. Oh, I picked up a Harbinger bow as well. Harbinger bow is the best rare bow base, but it's very difficult to get a good bow. Good attack speed roll, but nothing else, sadly. Life, crit multi, dex, crit chance. This is nice. That's a nice quiver right there. You can put resist on that. Sexy. I'm honestly not sure what to price that at. We're gonna have to do some price checking on that one. 89 life, but nothing else. Well, some good int. Good attack speed, but you don't really want that on a scepter like this. You want spell damage. And maybe elemental damage of a certain type, so the lightning damage or the cold damage to spells, those are both fine, but not enough. And plus the level of bow gems is not actually a bad thing to get, but it's bricky otherwise. Looking for increased fizz damage, attack speed, things like that. Anything to make the attacks hit much, much harder. Okay, and we are done with the bulk of the episode, and it is on to the pricing. So, let's start. We got 5 items here that I wanted to check. We're going to open a PoE tab, PoE trade tab, and transition on over. Whoa, movie magic. And we are going to start with the Gale Suit Vol Regalia, which I guess I didn't actually show you guys. So, once again, I was running a map earlier with the Volwind's Prophecy, and I managed to get a 6-link to drop. Now I'm going to show you the raw value of a corrupted 6-link just by itself, and why I should probably vendor this for a divine, because this has no good rolls to speak of. It's got mid-tier life, which honestly isn't even mid-tier anymore, because life rolls can go much, much higher on body armor, so rather low-tier life, and a okay resist. And then everything else is bricky garbage. The only potentially valuable thing about this is the fact that it's 5 off-colors on a Vol Regalia, which is interesting. But there's not enough ES for it to be worth that. That's my hunch, at least. But we're going to check. So what we're going to do is we're first just going to search for 6 links corrupted with the amount of life and resist that we have. So how much life did we have again? 42. So we'll put in 35. We'll get real generous with this, because there's not going to be a lot of 6 links on the market there. Pretty difficult to come by. And 25, that's not where I type that. resistances. 25 total elemental resistances. Or let's just, instead of that, because that's really, really generous, let's do 1 resist at minimum 25. Fire, or minimum 30. $30, 30. And we want to count 1 on this. Search for that. 45 results, and we're starting at 18C, so we do have some value coming out of this chess piece, because we're early days in the league yet, and this is actually somewhat, it's higher life than ours. Let's put a cap on the life as well. So we're starting, let's put a cap of 55 on the life, so we get a much closer roll to what we actually have. 11 results. Alright. And we have a better cold res roll than we have, and basically the same life that we have for 23C. I honestly didn't expect to get this much out of it, but I underestimated the value of a corrupted rare 6 link this early on in the league. And we're having 40, 45, and this is why it's worth it to price check these things, guys. So yeah, add in the fact that it's 5 off colors, which this one is as well. This is actually really similar to ours, has higher resists, but basically the same life, just as bricky otherwise. 5 off colors, 40C. We could probably undercut that, go for 35C, and get a sale, hopefully. We'll start it at 35. Is that undercutting everything here? Not quite. This is at 23. I'll just do it at 30. We'll list this one at 30 chaos. It's a very, very, very specific piece of gear, which is why I don't think that it will sell. But we should give it the opportunity to. That's always what I say. Because it doesn't cost anything to list it. Alright, to the next item, which is a pair of jewels, actually. Let's search for both of these. Let's work on both of these at the same time. Pandemonium Splinter here. We got 2 crit multi rolls. Crit multi is incredibly good on jewels. This is basically just a 3-pop jewel, because reduced mana cost doesn't matter. Nobody really cares about that. But attack speed while dual wielding is kind of nice. And that much crit multi with one-handers synergizes with the dual wielding because it's one-handers. And how much is that actually total? 26% crit multi. So let's reset our search here. And we're just going to search for a jewel with, oh god, strike multiplier. Well, total grit multi isn't really what we're looking for because we don't want global. We have 9 global and 17 specifically with one-handers. So this will be a little tough to do. Add filter group. Critical strike multiplier. There's going to be a lot of them. But if we do specifically while dual wielding and critical strike multiplier with one-handed melee weapons, and then we do a count of 1 of these, and then global crit strike multi, and we put both of these at 15 minimum, then we can find a jewel very similar to ours, hopefully. If one exists, 99 results, so they exist. They definitely exist. Alright, let's see if we can find one incredibly similar to ours. We'll just put an attack speed mod on there. Well, it's attack speed while dual wielding, but we'll put an attack speed mod and we'll just cap it out at 4%. 2 results. It's actually quite similar to ours. A little better than ours, and it's at 25C. And this one's quite similar as well at 50C. This has been up for 3 days. This has been up for 5 hours. 3 days at this price means that might be a little bit high, or he might just not be selling. Again, the reduced mana cost of skills doesn't really matter, so this is very comparable to ours. This is actually a little more easily used, though. But we have higher attack speed while dual wielding. Let's look offline as well, because we only have 2 to go off of, and that makes judging the price pretty hard. Maybe there's a few more hidden offline. 3 results, so 1 more and it's not priced. That doesn't really help me. This is difficult to price, but I'm going to ballpark it at 30C. And we'll see whether or not we get a sale on that. Crit multi, by the way, is so valuable on jewels because there's very few sources of crit multi in the game compared to other ways of scaling damage. So if you can get it on your jewel sockets, it's really, really nice. If that reduced mana cost were like a life roll, this jewel would be worth exalts. Like it would be very, very valuable. But let's price the other one now, which I'll transition back to game really quick so I can just show you the rolls again. It's 10% generic damage, which is basically the best damage. 12% fizz damage with two-handed melee weapons, 3% attack speed, and 7% attack speed with staves. That's 10% attack speed if you're using a stave, and 22% damage if you're doing physical damage with staves. So it's really good for like a hegemony staff build, which is not a very common build. There's not very many people using staffs, honestly, at all. But they did just release a new one. I forget the name of it, but a new unique staff with life leech added to it. But let's see what we can find. So we're just going to search, again, trying to find a jewel to compare to this is pretty difficult, but we're going to search for generic damage, which is hard to pull up on here, but we'll find it. There we go. I'm going to search for generic damage and put in a minimum of 9. And we're going to search for, let's see, can we add a filter group? Attack speed with staves. I'm tempted to do like attack speed with axes, staves, or swords, and then just do a count of 1. Or somehow try and do a total attack speed. Let's see, let's put in attack speed here. And then attack speed with staves and axes. Attack speed with staves and attack speed with swords. Because searching specifically for staves is going to be difficult. We'll just have to like find one that has an attack speed and a damage mod, and then an attack speed with another weapon mod. Preferably a two-hander, so like we can even do just generically two-handed melee weapons. And then count one of these and see if such a thing exists. 12 results. Okay, starting at 2C. Now we do have to remember that we do have a fourth property that actually does help. So if we can find one with a fourth property as well, that would fit in. Axes are more meta right now, which is why these ones with axes are more expensive. But I would say that I think we can safely price it around the same range as something like this plus another 10C or so, since it's fourth prop with staves, because it's so good for that specific build. But there's very few people playing that actual build. It'll be hard to get it sold. I'm going to put it up at 30C as well. I'm going to put that one also at 30 chaos. It's a good 4-prop damage jewel for hegemonies. It's basically perfect 4-prop damage jewel for hegemonies if you want that much attack speed, which you might not. So we'll start it at 30 chaos. I'll be happy if that sells. Alright, back to in-game. And we've got a few more things to price check. I'm actually just going to do one more. I want to keep the episode pretty short. And we'll do the quiver that we have here. And we'll hold on to these ones for other episodes. So I won't mouse over them so you don't get to see them. We'll hold them on. Oh, no. Oh! Oh! Nobody paused the video there. Don't do it. Alright. Oh, I wasn't even transitioned in-game. I was still in the PoE browser. Still in the path of the PoE trade browser. Well done, Octavian. But we are going to search now for Soul Spear, Spike Point, Arrow Quiver, which doesn't have any resists, but that's really its only downside. And I believe we can craft a resist onto this with Bowmaker's tools, right? Don't craft on quivers very often. Oh no, it's full suffixed. Alright, well I suppose not. This can get what then? Anything? It can get wed, so it can get even more damage. It can just be an insanely high damage quiver. Or maybe not insanely high, but pretty damn high. So, time to do some quiver research. I'm quivering with excitement. Can you not hear it in my voice? Alright. Quiver. And generally I don't like to specify the base, but Spike Point is pretty important here, because it's giving us crit. Though I guess we could just put in like 50% crit chance, and then we'll pretty much only get Spike Point. I don't like to specify the base, because sometimes you can get useful information. What am I doing? It's been a long day, I apologize. Critical strike chance total of 50. And the multi is really important. Multi is always important. Multiplier of, let's do 25. We'll put in a life roll between, say, 40 and 60. We can do 35 and 65. We can make the range 10 higher. And that'll do. The dex is not super important. It's not bad to have, but it's not super important. Alright, so we're starting at 1, but I would usually argue that this is worth it. It actually has wed on it, too. That's not that bad. Looks like we might just have a 1C quiver on our hands, 1 or 2C. It is hard to sell a quiver because there's so many unique quivers that like to get used. And this life roll is disappointingly low. So it looks like we've got a 1 chaos quiver in our hands. So we're going to go ahead and list that up. And hopefully it'll sell. Anyways, that is going to be the end of today's episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Episode 7 will be coming out in 2 days, since this series does air every other day. But if you need more Octavian before that comes out, then you can either catch my Twitch, as I do stream daily, or probably the Twitch highlight that is going to be uploaded either right before or right after this video. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. And I hope you have a good one. May you find profit on the shores of Rayclast.